The boy secretly mixed potassium chlorate with sugar. Then he heated it with an alcohol lamp. Instantly, a flame burst into the air. The boys looked at each other and smiled. Their experiment was a success. However, at that moment, the teacher walked down from the podium to inspect. They had no choice but to flush the materials down the drain. The next second, the chemistry class almost became a rocket launch site. But this also made Homer believe that it was the best fuel for rockets. However, when he told his family about his idea of building a rocket, his older brother and father were instantly shocked. His mother just said,
"Just don't blow yourself up."
His brother mocked him for being unrealistic. You see, it was 1957 and even the United States, with its full national strength, couldn't make a decent rocket. And here he was, a boy living in a backward and remote coal town, wanting to build a rocket to change his destiny? But his brother's mockery didn't discourage Homer. He knew that living in this town meant following in the footsteps of generations of men who worked in the coal mines. He wanted to escape this destiny, but for kids in the town at that time, there was only one way out: to get a full college scholarship through sports. Today was the day he participated in football tryouts. Although before the match, Homer's brother told his teammates to go easy on him, he still couldn't take the hit. It was clear that Homer was not meant for sports. Despite his relentless attempts, he couldn't pass the tryouts. His father, who had just come out of the coal mine, only hoped that he would graduate soon and go to work in the mine to take over his position. Homer didn't want his destiny to be determined like this, and that's when he came up with the dream of building rockets. Although this dream seemed unrealistic, he still gained the support of two close friends. He filled a flashlight with powder and created his first rocket in his life. However, when he lit the fuse, the rocket exploded on the spot. Although the failed launch scared his mother and caused a hole in the fence, Homer became even more fascinated with rockets. Homer started to look for some books related to rockets. But in Coalwood, people only cared about what was underground and no one bothered to look up. In the end, Homer found nothing in the library. It was during this time that he noticed Quentin, the isolated genius at school. With Homer's persistence, Quentin joined their rocket-building team. Quentin brought them professional books on rockets, and the four of them started their secret plan in the basement. After working tirelessly for 2 days, they finally had something that resembled a rocket made from iron pipes. However, the most crucial step was welding the bottom, and none of them knew how to weld. Homer had no choice but to find Ike, a welder at the mine. But because Homer's father was the mine manager, Ike was afraid to help him weld. However, when Ike saw the excitement in Homer's eyes as he talked about his dream, he couldn't help but be moved by his sincerity. So, despite the risk of being fired, Ike helped them. The next day, the four friends looked excitedly at the perfectly welded rocket and discussed when they could launch it into the sky. But just then, the principal walked over and confiscated the rocket. The principal had never seen anything like it and thought it was a weapon, so he immediately wanted to destroy it. Fortunately, science teacher Miss Riley intervened and said that it was something she had asked Homer to bring for the county's science exhibition. Hearing this, the stern principal had to give up. But Homer had never heard of any science exhibition. Quentin, who was standing nearby, said that only kids from the city win science exhibitions and kids from small towns like them never have a chance. Miss Riley criticized his thinking, saying that this year's winner could participate in a national science and technology exhibition. If they won, famous universities would compete for scholarships. This opportunity was open to everyone, but success wasn't just about dreaming, it required a lot of time and effort. In Homer's case, he needed to improve his math and science abilities. Miss Riley's words deeply resonated with him. Soon, their first meaningful rocket was ready to launch. The rocket's name was Auk-1. The reason it was named Auk symbolized the children's desire to escape from their hometown. After igniting the fuse and quickly taking cover behind a large metal box, the four friends eagerly watched as the rocket was about to be launched. Their hopes were on the verge of overflowing. This time, the rocket didn't explode, but it veered off course and flew straight towards the mine. The friends were scared and ran away except for Homer, who checked the situation. When he arrived, his father was already prepared to lecture him. He scolded Homer in front of everyone, calling him a troublemaker and a thief. He said that what Homer had built was just a pile of junk. He threw Homer's dream into the trash can. As Homer returned home, he realized that besides the Auk-1, his father had thrown away all the tools for making rockets in the basement. Homer, in the pouring rain, rushed out of his house and began to pick up his belongings. The scattered materials on the ground were just like his shattered dreams that he could not pick up. The failure of Auk-1 put the team in a low mood. Seeing his friends demoralized, Homer shouted at them, telling them to think about how to advance to the science exhibition instead of being idle and self-pitying. But one of his friends, Roy, said that he had already accepted his fate as a miner, as everyone else did, and being a miner wasn't so bad. Homer argued that being a miner was great enough to make his stepfather waste his life and become an alcoholic, and great enough for Odell's dad to lose his life. Odell joined the argument and the friends got into a fight. At this moment, a wealthy boy and his girlfriend drove past. They asked for directions from the group of friends. Although they were the same age, they lived completely different lives. They watched as the luxurious car drove away, filled with envy. Homer angrily told his friends to go and be miners if they wanted to. Then he left alone. The rocket team seemed to disband at that moment, because Homer's father wouldn't let him tinker around the mine. Therefore, he decided to walk 8 miles away from the mine to find a place. Along the way, his friends caught up with him. Seeing Homer alone carrying the materials, they jumped off the truck and awkwardly approached him. Odell asked Homer how big their chances were of winning the National Science Exhibition.
1,000,000 to 1, Odell.
That good. But why didn't you say so?
With their dreams in their hearts, they arrived at a large open area where they excitedly planted their flag and began building a safety shed for launching the rocket. When their plan to build and launch a rocket became known to their classmates, they were nicknamed Rocket Boys. They also became the subject of mockery, but they didn't mind. They actually liked the nickname. When Homer once again approached Ike to request help with welding, Ike had already been demoted to work in the mine due to helping Homer before. But he didn't blame Homer, as working in the mines meant earning more money and improving his lives. Without any complaint, Ike took his work badge with the number 723 and went down into the mines. Although Homer lost his help, he was determined to learn welding himself rather than giving up. He didn't want to miss any opportunity to make his dream come true. However, during their third attempt at launching a rocket, it veered off course and headed towards the onlookers. They rushed to the man. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Homer quickly apologized to the man named Bolden. Bolden was excited by the rocket's flight. He said it reminded him of his days as a fighter pilot and, drawing on his experience, Bolden immediately identified the problem with the rocket. The bottom nozzle had melted due to the high-temperature exhaust, causing the rocket to lose balance. Using heat-resistant steel would solve this minor issue, but the material was expensive. To raise money, they had to dismantle abandoned railway tracks and sell the iron in order to buy the heat-resistant material. They were full of enthusiasm and conducted numerous experiments. However, each ignition resulted in continuous explosions, as if they were making fireworks instead of rockets. After countless failures, Quentin speculated that the explosions were caused by bubbles in the fuel. They mixed a bottle of alcohol into their propellant, and soon they had a completely new fuel. When Auk, revitalized and ready for launch, their launch site was surrounded by curious onlookers. These people had come expecting to see a joke, but the group of boys were confident and prepared for the launch. As the countdown ended, Auk soared into the sky. This time, they finally succeeded. The crowds looked up, applauding and cheering for the Rocket Boys. However, his father remained unchanged in his attitude, telling Homer to focus more on where he came from and not waste time on these useless rockets. Homer, feeling angry, grabbed his clothes and left home. He went to school, where Miss Riley found him and gave him a book on rocket design principles. Homer was grateful to Miss Riley for her support and couldn't wait to show it to his friends. However, he was caught by the principal, who disapproved of their dreams. The principal told Miss Riley that their job was to educate the children, not let them daydream. Miss Riley firmly argued back, asking if he wanted the children to spend their lives surrounded by coal dust. She emphasized the need for someone to believe in them and give them confidence. Otherwise, she said, the town would truly be doomed. Soon, Homer's accomplishments were reported in the newspaper, and the group of boys became instant local celebrities. However, their joy was short-lived as the police arrived and arrested them. They were handcuffed and awaiting interrogation because the police believed that their failed rocket had caused the forest fire. They had indeed lost one rocket during launch, so the charges were pinned on them. Homer's father bailed him out. His father had never supported his absurd dream, and now he expressed his shame for Homer. The rocket project was officially banned by their parents and the authorities. With no other options, they sadly burned down their observation shed and left their dream cabin reduced to ashes. There is no substitute for the original movie. A good film is worth watching it yourself. But you don't know where you can watch these movies? Use Superbox. With Superbox, you can access all live TV channels in 4K quality. It also provides access to over 13,000 movies and series, and updates with the newest content very often. The total cost for one of these is 2 months of your cable bill. Then you never have to pay fees or bills ever again. Click the link in my bio and use my code to get it at a better price.